I don't think Florentino Perez picked up the phone and said, "Hey, Antonio, what are you doing for the foreseeable future?" But I think there are emissaries, there's intermediaries who are looking to make a deal. They're very clear on this. They want to get the story out that Antonio Conte is chomping at the bit to go back in and get another job. And he feels that should Lopetegui go, that he should be one of the candidates, that he's got the credentials to do it. I'm not going to go so far as to say this is Conte putting himself about, but by the same token, you can see how there are people trying to put a deal together should the situation with Lopetegui degenerate and Real Madrid feel that they need to appoint another manager right there and there rather than an interim guy.
How much has the situation degenerated already between Lopetegui and the players?
Oh, it has it's degenerated a very long way already, and certainly Conte is someone that Real Madrid have looked at. There are other options as well, but the situation with Lopetegui, as it happens, by the way, with lots of managers, and has happened up to a point with Rafa Benitez, that Benitez was basically done when Real Madrid lost that Clásico to Barcelona. But bear in mind, that was in October. He then survived to January. So that doesn't necessarily mean this is imminent, but it does mean Lopetegui is in a very delicate position. He's in a delicate position in which his relationship with the president has already been damaged, in which the president already doesn't trust in him for a number of reasons. Not to say this is completely irrecoverable, but it doesn't trust in him for a number of reasons. Some of the squad now are unsure about him as well, and his position in that sense is very, very weak indeed. Now, does that mean that he can't continue? No, not necessarily, because football has a funny way of sometimes results turning things, even if the underlying problem remains. But the bottom line is that the underlying problem is there, and certainly according to people who are close to the club, that there is a sense that it's really just a question of time with Lopetegui now. As I say, though, with time sometimes come results, and then that changes everything. But right now, he's not in a good position at all, but I don't think a sacking is imminent.
This should be a brilliant match, shouldn't it, at the weekend?
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. It really should be a lot of fun. I mean, this is a Sevilla side who had that slightly doubtful start to the season. They were beaten away at Getafe, and the fans were furious about the way they played. But since then, they've really, really picked up. In particular, things have started falling into place for Pablo Machin. Some of them by accident, some of them by design. The way that he wants them to play, which is the way, of course, that Girona played last year with two wing-backs, has really suited Sevilla, despite the injury to Escudero. He's also had, because of a series of kind of circumstances, been forced into a position where he's played two strikers, André Silva and Ben Yedder, which wasn't the initial idea, and those two together have won every game since they've started together. They're scoring a lot of goals. They're very, very exciting. They're very direct. They're very, very energetic. They're a lot further into the season than anyone else, which perhaps helps to explain this because, of course, they had to go through Europa League qualifying. But right now, they look very good indeed. And you feel that going into this kind of game, they can cause Barcelona a lot of problems. Barcelona, I think, look very vulnerable indeed.
What's wrong with Barca, Sid? You take a look at the odds, they're favourites going into
this game. I think when you look at the way they've played... Yeah, I think when you look at the way they've played so far this season, you can see defensive errors on an individual level, and of course a lot of the finger pointing has been done in the direction of Gerard Piqué. I also think you can see some systemic problems that collectively as a unit they're not defending particularly well. The injury to Samuel Umtiti, which I still feel may turn out to be more serious than we currently realise. That's been a problem for them as well. I think you've seen Sergio Busquets look a little slower than in previous seasons, perhaps a little less protected than in previous seasons, which I think is related to the return from the World Cup, and a very tiring World Cup for Ivan Rakitic. And so I think right the way through this team, Barcelona don't entirely convince, but I think in particular at the back, they look like a side that without giving away too many chances, when they do, they give away very clear chances.
Chelsea taking on Manchester United. 7 points separate these teams already after just 8 matches going into this clash at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea, of course, unbeaten so far this season domestically. Manchester United have already lost 3 games. Stuart, let's start with you. What sort of game are you expecting? Is it going to be similar to that of Chelsea-Liverpool, or are you expecting a tighter affair?
Well, I think Chelsea are going to have all the ball. They've done that particularly well in most of the games. They try and dominate possession. They try and play the game in the opposition's half. And Mourinho will bring Manchester United, and he will come with a game plan to stop Eden Hazard getting on the ball and making things happen. He'll try and stop Jorginho dictating the play from his position just in front of the 2 centre-halves. I think he'll play very much on the counter-attack, as he always does when he comes to play against Chelsea since he's not been there. And whether he man-marks Eden Hazard like he did a couple of years ago with Herrera, I'm not sure. But I think it's going to be a game that Chelsea will dominate, and I think they're going to win it quite comfortably.
Do you agree, Stevie? If you're Mourinho, are you doing the Herrera Hazard thing again?
I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure and was sure on they'll win comfortably, Chelsea. I don't see Manchester United winning this, but I cannot see past Jose Mourinho setting out a team to give absolutely zero away. And can they do it for 90 minutes? I'm not quite sure, which means that I think in the end, if there's a winner, it's Chelsea.
Right.
But I think this has got a draw written all over it. I don't remember the last time Mourinho was involved in a big game or a supposed game with two or against a team with a name that he did anything other than shut up shop. And I don't see him doing anything else.
Is this going to be any fun for the neutrals?
I don't think so, in all honesty, and I think that's down to Manchester United. As Stevie rightly points out, you know that Jose Mourinho will be more than happy to leave London with a point. He takes a point here, it's job done. If they get 3, that's just the icing on the cake. And unfortunately, I'm with Stewie in that Manchester United tried to stifle Eden Hazard. I don't think they do anything other than that, sit back and hope you can get something from a set piece or on a counter or off a mistake. Other than that, I don't see Jose Mourinho setting out aside to take this game to Chelsea in any form or fashion. He's going to do what he's always done.
Expectations low in the studio, Gab. Can you bring a little more optimism looking ahead to this game?
You know, we're all judging what Mourinho's going to do based on his past approach, but that doesn't always work. Certainly, there's been a suggestion that he might change things around again, not so much in terms of not parking the bus, so to speak, because teams that have had success against Sarri have tended to defend deep and narrow, but maybe pulling something a rabbit out of the hat, and rather than man-marking Hazard, or maybe in addition to man-marking Hazard, trying to go and getting somebody to go and basically be on top of Jorginho the whole game. This is something that has worked against Sarri and Jorginho when they were at Napoli. The only question is, I don't know if he has somebody who's an obvious guy with the mobility to go and try to press Jorginho and try to sort of cut off Chelsea's ball circulation at the source. Maybe a fit and happy Lingard might have gotten the job done, but who knows if this guy's is even fit or in Mourinho's plans.
Well, certainly Mourinho doesn't know what his best 11 is, and he hasn't known for quite some while. But if I was picking the side, I'd have Valencia as one fullback, I'd have Shaw as the other fullback. He's got a whole load of centre-halves. None of them I would think particularly good. Bailly was probably the best out-and-out defender. Smalling would play alongside him because, I think Lindelof hasn't really impressed. In midfield, you'd go with Matic as the holding midfield player, Pogba to play that little bit further forward, and Fred to give him that energy in central midfield. And Sanchez hasn't suddenly become a bad player overnight, so I play him one side. You could pick Rashford, you could pick Mata, you could pick Martial on the other, but I've gone with Martial and Lukaku up front. That, I think, is the best team that Manchester United can put out.
Robert, you got Fergie there. He's hardly featured, has he, so far? Well, what's happened since his big money move to Old Trafford?
Well, he's obviously fallen out with Mourinho. Mourinho hasn't done the things that Mourinho wanted him to do. I think he's shown great dynamism when he's played. He's the sort of player that I thought Mourinho would like. He gets tight to people, he wins tackles, he starts the counter-attacks. I think he knows the game in terms of the defensive side of it. So I'm not sure why he hasn't played more minutes on the pitch.
Gab?
It's an interesting one. I mean, when you mentioned Fred there, he's somebody also who perhaps could have the dynamism to, going back to what I was talking about before, of going high and pressing Jorginho, and then you keep Pogba with Matic a little bit deeper. Pogba, similar role to what he played for France. That could potentially be a way to stop this. But like I said, if I were Mourinho, and he may well have done this, he might have gone and studied what worked against Sarri and Jorginho before, rather than trying to detail a whole plan to go and put Hazard in a cage, because then you risk getting a guy booked and possibly sent off, as we've seen has happened in the past when you man-mark Hazard.
I wonder whether Milan have got the capability to play on the counter-attack, because Higuain's not the quickest centre-forward. Suso's a wonderful player when he comes in on his left foot and he can go past people, but he doesn't go down the outside. And Chanolu, when he comes in on his right foot, he's never going to go down the outside. So I think if Inter dominate the game, it's going to be a real struggle for Milan to counter-attack them. Inter are the better side.
Let's take a look at the bookies. Well, I'll tell you what, there's not too much separating them. Inter half favourites. Milan are coming in at 21-10, draw at 9-4. Gab, what's your prediction for this?
I see goals in this, and I see goals mainly for the reason that I think Milan, they play really pretty football. They've got some issues. We've yet to see the best of Çalhanoğlu, but they have Frank Kessie, who I think can be a real game changer. He's really kicked on. Higuain is playing really well too, but equally, Milan have leaked goals at the back. I think it feels like it's been ages since they kept a clean sheet. As far as Inter is concerned, Vecino, suggestions he won't start, not 100%. Gagliardini's going to be in there. I think that might provide some opportunities. Look, Inter have arguably the better players, but equally, we haven't seen the best of Spalletti. This recent run of victories, I think Inter were maybe a bit fortunate in some of them. So I think this is going to be a cracker. Lots of goals, 2-2.
2-2 draw, an entertaining game for all. Robert, you mentioned before you felt that Inter are the better team, so they're going to win it?
They are going to win it. I think they've got the better front players. I think they're going to dominate midfield. Their two centre-halves are better than the two centre-halves. If Romagnoli doesn't play for Milan, which there's question marks about him, Inter are going to win the game by, I think, 3-1.
Oh, convincing win then. And thank you very much to Robson. Thank you to Gab as well. If you want more from Gab, Robert wasn't invited. Be sure to check out the latest Serie Awesome podcast, which is available to download over on the website. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Extra Time. Steve Nicol, the first question is for you. Why are you not verified on Twitter?
No idea.
Do you know what verified means?
I think so. I'm not bothered.
It is the blue tick of wonder.
But what's the difference?
It's so that people know that it's the real Steve Nicol and not someone pretending to be Steve Nicol.
Well, I really don't care. Oh, if they don't believe it, then that's...
Are you sure you are you?
Are you you?
Are you you?
Can I get back to you or not?
When you're verified, you can.
Do you have a blue... Oh, can we talk about what's going on at the moment with you, or do you prefer to keep that
By the way,
Shaka?
I don't know. Is anything in my life private?
Shaka's off Twitter.
He's
done.
off.
Were you verified?
Yes.
So how did you do it anyway?
Someone at work, someone here.
Somebody came in. Somebody from Twitter came in and got everybody done in a batch.
I see. I can't be bothered with that. If you just had to go like that, then I would probably do
Yeah, but
it.
I think if you could just do that, then everyone would have a blue tick. There has to be some sort of discrepancy.
Oh, well, that's fine. I'm not
I
bothered.
could just have a picture of you going, I'm Steve Nicol.
Somebody did that with me. Somebody did. Their Twitter handle was Hislop Shaka.
Oh.
And just pulled a photo of mine from a Twitter handle.
Right.
They were just abusing people on Twitter.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I had to let my bosses know, listen, that's not me.
Wow.
And then they just kind of ran out of steam.
Yeah, but your name's Shaka Hislop. Not Hislop Shaka. That would give it away straight away.
Sid got a blue tick.
Hey, straight away.
Do you have a blue tick, Sid?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Sid's got probably more followers.
I didn't do anything. One day they just contacted me and said, do you want a blue tick? And I said, OK.
Oh, look at you, fancy boy.
Wow, big time, eh?
Big Bertie.
Fancy
Yeah,
boy.
obviously.
Bertie, big spuds.
What the thing is, though, of course, I'm not really the kind of person that anyone's going to try and be. I mean, you can imagine that millions of fans out there trying to be Hislop Shaka or Nicol Steve, but no one's going to want to be Low Sid, are they? It's just not going to happen.
How low will they go? Is Maldini the greatest defender ever, Stevie?
Ooh, say what, he's up there.
Who is up there?
Ramos.
See, the problem
Ramos.
is, I'll start throwing names. I'll start throwing names out.
I'm glad you said it and I didn't have to.
Like who? Throw a couple of names out.
Like the Italian Sierra. I mean, he was fantastic. But you never noticed him in a game. Because he read everything, he killed danger before it even started. I mean, just a proper player. People like Franz Beckenbauer, same thing. You know, he strolled around because he was smart. Bobby Moore, people like that. Alan Hansen, that I played with.
Is he the best defender that you played with?
Yeah, I would say so. And again, for the same reasons. You know, all these guys, I mean, Baresi never really had much to do ever because he either organised that somebody else was in a good position to deal with it, or he did it himself. And when I say deal with it, I mean just by picking out a good position, he stopped the opposition from playing a ball into the position he... I mean, it's really simple things. You're sitting there smiling, right? Because you've no idea what I'm talking about.
I do know what you're talking about.
So,
I'm appreciating it. I'm appreciating what you say. Never mind him.
And I've said it 100 times, I'll say it again. Defending is not about last gasp tackles and sliding in and all that nonsense. That's not what it's about. If you're doing that, then you've actually been in the wrong place to start. There you go.
Well said, Stephen.
Thank you very much, yeah.
Thank
you very much.
I'm going to watch that again when I get home.
Can I call you Hislop Shaka?
You call me whatever you like.
Okay, but thank you, Mr. Hislop Shaka.
That was a beautiful moment, Steve.
Thank you. You snigger. He said, I'll tell you what, he's a wee sniggerer on the fly.
You say as sniggers.
Well, he does. He waits till the camera's gone and he looks at you with a snigger.
Well, this isn't a snigger, this is a proper laugh.
Yeah.
With this lack of playing time, Sid, do you think that Malcolm regrets his decision to join FC Barcelona, and could he possibly seek a loan move in winter transfer window?
I think he probably regrets how it's gone so far, but I don't think he'll regret the decision necessarily. I think he would have anticipated playing relatively little, probably not quite as little as he's played so far. He was told in the summer that he would get opportunities, maybe, obviously not to start, but he's maybe had fewer than he would have hoped for. But I don't think he necessarily regrets it. I think any player who's in a position where a club like Barcelona comes for them when they're not expecting it, because remember, this is the key point here. Now, this is a club much bigger than they were anticipating, which is why he was on the verge of going to Italy, which is why fans were waiting for him at the airport in Rome. But this comes along, you can't say no. And I guess the other thing is that, you know, if it really does go wrong, well, then maybe next summer he has similar sorts of options and can move on, and he's only lost 1 year. I think there's still time for him to play a bit of a part this season, but I don't think at any point he's going to be a regular starter.
Meanwhile, Shaq, I haven't heard this story. What do you guys think about Leon Bailey's refusal to play Jamaica unless his brother is also included in the squad?
It's an odd one. It was a falling out between Leon Bailey, his agent, and the Jamaican Football Federation that they just can't come to terms with. And just judging from my own experience, given my standoff with the Jamaican Football Federation, I know that there's a lot more happening behind the scenes than hits the headlines. So I'm not privy to some of those things, but I'm not passing judgment on what we've know so far.
Finally, Shaka, how hard is it to suppress your Trini accent since last night it slipped unintentionally?
Last night? Where was I last night?
I don't know.
Hey, can we not get one of Hislop Shaka's mates to call him up on the phone? You know any of them?
Well,
because when he's on the phone, I can't understand a word.
When you're on your phone, so we assume people from Trini, you go completely Trini.
I know, because when I speak with my Trinidadian accent full on, nobody can understand me. So I left Trinidad a long time ago, over 30 years ago, and I've just kind of, over that time, learned to slow things down, enunciate better when I'm speaking to non-Trinidad and Tobagonians.
Do you still have to make an effort to do that? Or is it all subconscious?
No, it's subconscious. Slowing down is subconscious now. As is when I speak faster when I'm in Trinidad, let's say.
My kids speak American until they walk through the front door.
Right.
And they have no idea they're doing it. So all these things are definitely subconscious. You know, when they walk in our house, they start talking Scottish. But as soon as they walk out the house and they're in amongst their friends and going about their normal day, they speak with American.
How's your American accent?
Oh, it's coming on great.
Yeah?
I'm getting there, aye.
When you
My good friend. There it is. Hey there. Howdy. Howdy, Daniel.
Why are they from Texas?
Well, because I've been listening to tapes from Texas. I've been listening to American tapes in the car so I can talk American. How's that? Y'all.
Rosetta Stone. Texas style.
From Texas. There was only CD left in the shop.
I thought it was a tape.
You're showing your age now, tape. We've moved on for that kind of stuff now, Dan. We use CDs.
Do we?
Yeah.
That's it. Anything you'd like to add, Sid, before we go?
Sid, how's your Spanish accent?
A little bit weird because it's a mixture of lots of different things. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but yeah, it's there. Although it does change. I must admit, it's a bit like Shaq's saying, without meaning to. I was in Montevideo in Uruguay just before the last World Cup, and within a day I was speaking Uruguayan Spanish, and not deliberately. It just kind of happens.
Oh, that's it. When you're such a culture vulture, it just happens.
Yeah. How's your Cornwall Spanish?
My Cornish, my Spanish is very good, isn't it?
Like,
Dan's Spanish is second to none.
Yeah.
The particular none in question, I don't know who she is, but it's second to none.
Who speaks better Spanish, Sid? Your 6-year-old or you?
Oh, he does, definitely.
Oh, does that annoy you a bit?
He speaks better English as well, though. He speaks much better English.
Writes better articles. And that's it, we're done. That's enough of this. We're back to... There's a lot of games tomorrow. No, there isn't, but there's a lot of games
I'm coming back tomorrow.
As if he's interested.
No, there is. Milan Derby, Barca Sevilla.
I'm coming tomorrow. I'm coming in tomorrow.
Chelsea United.
I'm in tomorrow as well.
I'll see you tomorrow.
There we go. Bianna, put the graphic on. Come on, let's do this. There it is. We're back tomorrow then to look ahead to those games and sure much more as well.
Oh, I'll wait.
Frankfurt, Dusseldorf.
Oh, yeah.
Howdy, y'all.
Y'all.
Yeah.
Sham.
Hey, y'all. What was your big takeaway?
A big takeaway is they finally had a game, which was nice. I'm sure the players were thrilled about that. And to have a game and to endure the pressure that Canada put on them. I mean, they're going to be organized. They're defensively organized. They're compact. They put a lot of tackles in. There wasn't a lot of time on the ball. And still, the U.S. team looked good. And I think that's been the thing that we've talked about this entire CONCACAF World Cup qualifier is we've seen the U.S. in World Cup qualifiers before, and they run through CONCACAF. But there has been a swagger to this team and a confidence and a flow and a creativity that we haven't seen in past teams. And I think that's going to be the challenge, honestly, for them going forward is when you play against these better teams, as a Canada is, can you sustain that? Because when they get those creative players going, they're the best team in the world by far.
Defensively, as you mentioned, Julie, they haven't really been tested yet. There's still quite a lot of discussion around the goalkeeping situation. Where do you stand on this?
I think that's probably the biggest question mark, actually, that's remaining with this team. I think it's pretty clear who Jill Ellis wants in her field players and her top 23. I think you could even see with this tournament she had to narrow it down to 20, and there's a few on the bubble that may come in and out, but there's not going to be a lot of experimentation on the field. I think the one spot that they're going to continue to look at, even though right now she's saying it's Alyssa Nair, is her #1 goalie. You've got Ashlyn Harris, who's been in the mix a lot. You've got Adie Franch, who's a young player out of Portland who did so well this season. You've got Jane Campbell, of course, who's been with the national team before and has fallen out. And so I think that's an area she's going to continue to explore, and they haven't solved that yet. In close games, as we know at World Cups, against good teams in big moments, you need a keeper to make a big save. And I'm not convinced yet that Nair is there yet. So I do think that's one of the areas they'll still be looking to explore in.
I always like it when we've got out-of-work managers on the transfer radar because they get to leave ESPN FC, like Antonio Conte is with right now, and will he go to Real Madrid? What do you reckon to this story?
Listen, on the face of it, the way he's coached, the way his teams have played is not a style you would associate with Real Madrid. The problem is if Real Madrid continue to lose games and play the way they are, then they might be forced to making a quick decision. And this guy, as you said, is available. And he could be one of those managers that they've had recently who comes in, I'm thinking of Benitez, who comes in for maybe 9 months, steadies everything down, and then they actually get who they really want. So I think this is possible if Real Madrid continue to get the results and play the way they are right now. So I'm going to say it's a hit.
Okay.
Yep.
Neymar, I giggle, there was a thing on Twitter, Neymar leaves Barcelona to out the shadows of Messi, and then there was a photo of him when Mbappe scored 4 and he's in the background, he's going, so he's in the shadows of Mbappe now.
What was he doing?
Like that. Not quite horse-like, but to leave PSG. What? Stop laughing.
Do you know what? Eventually he's going to leave PSG.
Yeah,
so
I know.
The answer's yes.
Okay.
I'm going to say yes because
Soon.
This comes up all the time. You talk about getting out of the shadow. Now he's in Mbappe's shadow.
Who could afford him?
He's given them nothing. He's given PSG nothing when it matters most in the Champions
True.
League. So eventually, if there is interest, which I believe there will be from other teams,
But from who? Who can afford him?
Real Madrid, Barcelona.
Okay.
These teams will find a way, regardless of the situation, to come up with the money. So I'm going to say yes, because they're going to do nothing again in the Champions League, I don't believe. And so that's why they got him.
Now, back in your day, it happened probably more than it happens now, players going from Liverpool to Everton or vice versa. We reckon one of the last to do so was Gary Ablett. There was Peter Beardsley back then as well. Would Divock Origi be one player who would swap Liverpool for Everton in the present day?
If he was given the opportunity, I'm sure he would. But I think Origi's in a position where he has to drop down a level and rebuild himself. He can't even get in the squad right now for Liverpool. So that would suggest that he's not capable of stepping on the field for Liverpool. So why would he be a starter at Everton?
He's not going to get ahead of Cenk Tosun.
No, and he has to go somewhere and be a starter. And I don't think it's Everton, so I'm afraid this is a miss.
Olivier Giroud, it's kind of worked for him at Chelsea when he comes off the bench. That's not what he wants to do. Would West Ham take him?
Would West Ham take him? No, I don't think so. Arnautovic is one of their best players, if not their best player. And why would Giroud go to West Ham, a team who are going to be in another relegation battle? Why would he go there? Doesn't make any sense.
We had to ask which Ivanovic this was. We thought it was a talented younger brother no one's yet heard of, because if Branislav Ivanovic gets a move to Barcelona, assuming we're talking football, not another sport, where did this come from?
I've no idea. I guess, listen, if you try to fill out the squad, the guy's experienced, he could maybe do a job, but...
You're not having this?
It's not, no. Barca, no.
Really?
No.
You must have some agent to get that link in the papers. Goodness me. So when you're playing this version of fantasy football, ESPN's version, you've got to have your guys I would call set and forget, like Lionel Messi. Make him the captain and move on. It's the other picks in the other tiers, in the other positions that are going to win or lose your matches every single week. So Messi as our captain. Our other forward, I'm going to go with Iago Aspas, in some good form right now. And I want to pick on players who are playing teams that I expect them to have a lot of the ball. That's why I think Luka Modric is a good pick this week. The other midfielders, Dani Parejo and Markel Susaeta. I think he'll do well for Bilbao this weekend. Jordi Alba, another pretty much set and forget. Loves to get forward for Barca. And again, tough game for them against Sevilla, but I would expect them to get all 3 points. Aissa Mandi loves to get forward wherever possible. And our goalkeeper, he may be busy. Oyar Olazabal. Those are your picks this week for ESPN Fantasy Football La Liga. So a new 5-year deal for Luke Shaw at Manchester United. Stevie Nicol, if I'd said that to you 12 months ago, I think you would have laughed me out of town. What a turnaround.
Yeah, I think all credit to him as well. He now is a mainstay, I would suggest. He's a regular. And he's actually there on merit. He's not there for any other reason, not because of injury or attitude or on anybody else's part. It's down to him. He's put the hard work in, both on and off the field, clearly.
Now, we've spoken about Luke Shaw in the past here, and mainly to do with the comments that Jose Mourinho has made about him. So is this 5-year deal been earned, and is it in spite of Mourinho, or is it with the help of Mourinho?
No, I think it's in spite of Mourinho. You know, listen, I was a professional for 20 years. I've never heard a manager be so critical on so many occasions of one particular player in his team. So he might think he's been clever in saying he's given him a kick up the backside. I would suggest that this is down to Luke Shaw. And later on in his career, he'll look back in this and say, you know what, regardless of what happens now, if I can get through that, because when you're playing for Manchester United and you're being criticised by the manager publicly, Everybody knows about it. So I think it's all kudos to Luke Shaw.
And by saying that, I think there's something in it that it's a message to other players at other clubs who are maybe out of favour, and that keep working hard, keep your head up, because it would have been easy for Luke Shaw just to take the huff.
Yeah, I mean, there were occasions when I thought he'd be better just leaving. I would, however, suggest that maybe something to do with the situation with Mourinho right now. I'm pretty sure Mourinho's not going to be at Manchester United for too much longer. Whether it's the rest of this season or maybe even another one, but it ain't going any longer than that. So Luke Shaw knows, number one, he has to keep performing on the field, and he also knows that Mourinho's not going to be around to jump on him at every occasion when he thinks he should.
Peaks and troughs for Luke Shaw. He's been down at the bottom, but now a 5-year deal at Man United and back in the England squad as well. It really has turned around. Premier League predictor, beginning, Stevie Nicol, with the game of the weekend. Chelsea, Man United, what happens?
Well, clearly Chelsea are the favourites. They're at home, they're on a great run. Manchester United pulled the result out last time they stepped on the field in the Premier League, but this has got Mourinho written all over it. You know he gets something from these types of games, and I'm going to say this is a draw.
Okay. Chelsea for me. Now, before we started to do this, you said that usually after international breaks you get 2 or 3 funny results.
Yep.
So let's race through these and find out which ones will be the results that aren't expected.
I never said I was going to tell you what they were.
You have to tell everyone else then. So Bournemouth against Southampton.
Bournemouth wins comfortably.
Okay.
Unless there's a strange result.
Well, you're going to be like that for every single one?
No, I'm just telling you.
By the way, they are in trouble, especially if they lose this weekend.
Yeah.
Cardiff, Fulham.
Cardiff, every time Cardiff steps on the field, I can't see how they beat anybody. I really don't. Even though they're at home, Fulham, free-flowing football, it's going to be too much for them. So I'm going to go with a Fulham victory away.
I think this will be one of your funky results, because they're going to have to get a win sometime, and it wouldn't surprise me if it was against
the law of averages.
They have to sometime. Do you know what? Just press that, because this ain't going to be the game.
No.
Newcastle against Brighton.
I'm going to go with Newcastle.
Okay.
Newcastle at home, Brighton. Stuffy, stick with it. But Newcastle at home for me just seem to be a little bit. They seem to come alive. So I'm going to go with Newcastle purely and simply because they're at home.
I'll just say Newcastle, but I'll also mention that he once got a hat-trick at St James's Park, and he missed his sister's wedding because the game was moved to a Sunday. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Next, West Ham Spurs.
Sorry, Hammers. They did come back into it for a couple of games, but I'm sorry, Spurs are going to be far too good for them.
I'll take a draw on that, because West Ham can raise their game against better sides. Spurs should win, but I'll take a draw. Wolves, Watford.
I'm going to go Wolves.
Yep.
Love the way they play. Watford, a little bit of a slide recently, so I'm going to say Wolves pull this one out.
Yep, with you on that one. Huddersfield against your boys.
Yeah, fair enough.
What's the point?
Bit like Cardiff, not sure when they're going to win again.
That could have been Real Madrid or Barcelona, and you'd still go straight for them, wouldn't you?
Not true.
Don't lie to me.
Not true.
Don't lie. Everton.
Don't ask a question if you don't want the answer.
You'd always go Liverpool, except when they're playing Hearts, because they'd struggle against Hearts. Everton against Crystal Palace.
Got to go with Everton because they're at home. Crystal Palace away from home.
Everywhere right now they're struggling.
I mean, yeah, I don't see how Palace win this game. Everton at home. Toffees are going to be too strong.
Going to end with Arsenal against Leicester.
Yeah, Leicester. Your middle of the table team will either win or get beat, and Arsenal on a fantastic run at home are going to beat Leicester City.
Another funky result. Leicester are going to get a point. They're just better suited with the pace of Vardy and Maddison in midfield to get a point.
It's possible, yeah.
Against Arsenal. So which is going to be, or where are the funky results going to be this weekend, if there are some? That's what we think. What do you think? Our Premier League picks for this week's ESPN Fantasy Football. After the international break, we're going to go nice and safe for our captain, Sergio Aguero. Didn't travel much in midweek for the international break, so he's fit and available. Manchester City at home to Burnley. Same applies for Benjamin Mendy as well. City getting forward from the left-hand side, courtesy of the Frenchman. Now, Josh King is in the same tier as Callum Wilson. Bournemouth with a good home fixture against Southampton. King just gets the nod from me because he's also on penalties. The big game of the weekend, get up nice and early. Saturday morning, Chelsea against Manchester United. We've got two players from Chelsea. Eden Hazard, who I just want to have in my team every single week the way he's playing, and Kepa. Now, goalkeeping in this particular game isn't all to do with clean sheets and wins, it's to do with saves and various other things as well. So Kepa did really well last time out. Hopefully he can do the same. Elsewhere, to round up our players, Ryan Fraser of Bournemouth again against Southampton. Missed international duty with Scotland. I wish the rest of them had. And Matt Doherty as well, the right wing back from Wolves. He's been among the goals of late as well. So those are your picks for this week's Premier League ESPN Fantasy Football. Good luck.